বিদ্যাৰ্থীৰ অনুষ্ঠান। মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীসকল, তোমালোক আটাইকে প্ৰীতি আৰু শুভেচ্ছা জনাই আজিৰ অনুষ্ঠান মুকলি কৰিছোঁ। আজি নৱম শ্ৰেণীৰ ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীসকলৰ বাবে ইংৰাজী ব্যাকৰণৰ পাঠ আছে। ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীসকল, আজি তোমালোকক টেন্সৰ বিষয়ে ক'বলৈ লোৱা হৈছে। তোমালোকৰ বাবে পাঠ যুগুতাই আগবঢ়াইছে তাৰিণী চৌধুৰী চৰকাৰী উচ্চতৰ মাধ্যমিক বহুমুখী বালিকা বিদ্যালয়ৰ শিক্ষয়িত্ৰী শুভলক্ষ্মী বৰুৱাই। আজি শুনা এই পাঠৰ তৃতীয় খণ্ড।
The structures of these tenses. In this class, we are going to discuss the uses of the tense structures that we spoke of in the last class. Just to do a quick recap, in the last class, we had spoken about the 4 present tenses, the 4 past tenses, and the 4 future tenses. Please keep your notebooks and pencils ready because it will be helpful for you to note down what I say. So if you look at the notes that you might have taken in the last class, which I had done regarding structures, you will find that we had discussed 12 tense structures, and today we are going to discuss their uses. So what is the structure of the simple present tense? If you will recall, the structure of the simple present tense is verb in root form or verb in first form. That is, using the tense structure as it is without adding any trunk or tail to it. That means without adding any prefix or suffix to the verb structure. And then we had also done simple past tense in which you needed to add a suffix ed or d or id, and for simple future tense you needed to add an auxiliary verb which is will or shall to convert the root form into simple future form. So let us give you some examples to help you understand of the use of the simple present tense. I would like you to write down the following sentences. The baby cries for milk. The baby cried for milk. The baby will cry for milk. Now, if you have noted down these sentences, please underline the indefinite verbs or the simple present tense, simple past tense, or simple future tense in these 3 sentences. Yes, you are correct. The simple present tense in the first sentence is cries, C-R-I-E-S. Now, just to do a quick recap, I think you remember that when the last word or the last letter of a verb ends with Y, then for simple present tense, third person singular number, you have to add IES and remove the consonant Y. Then for simple past tense, after you remove the consonant Y, you have to add IED. And for the simple future tense, you don't have to do anything to the verb in root form, but in front of the root form, you have to add an auxiliary verb, which is will or shall. So the verb in simple present tense is cries. The verb in simple past tense is cried, C-R-I-E-D. And the verb in simple future tense is will cry or shall cry. You will notice that in the first sentence, the action that is indicated here, cries, takes place in the present time, but the time is not definite. That means this is a habitual action. Whenever the baby is hungry for milk, the baby cries. It is the habitual action of the baby. So from this sentence, you have understood one use of simple present tense, and that the simple present tense is used to indicate the action which is habitual in nature or routine in nature. In the second sentence, you'll find that the baby cried for milk. So this indicates the action of crying was completed in the past and has no connection with the present. And in the last sentence, the baby will cry for milk. This indicates that the baby has a habit of crying for milk. The baby is not yet crying for milk, but this action will take place in the future if the milk is not provided to the baby. So from these three sentences, you will get a general idea of how the simple present tense or present indefinite tense or simple past tense or past indefinite tense or simple future tense or future indefinite tense is used, or the difference between the three. So in the first, simple present tense indicates habitual action. In the second, it indicates that the action was completed in the past, has no connection to the present. And in the last one, it indicates that the action has not yet taken place but is very certain to take place in the future. So in this way, this is one of the uses of simple present tense. Now I will talk of some more uses of simple present tense. Please write down the sentence. The grass is green. Can you tell me which is the verb in this sentence? You are correct. The verb in this sentence is. Now, this word indicates that the grass is always green. It is a universal truth. That means grass is usually not purple or yellow. It is not generally any other color, but it is generally green. Similarly, the sky is blue. Generally, the sky is blue. Sometimes, of course, when it rains, it becomes gray. But generally, the sky remains blue. Then, blood is red. So, there are certain things which are universal truths. Universal truth meaning it is truth for always and in every place. So, this is a universal truth. I mean, if the weather is nice and sunny, the sky is generally blue. Similarly, blood is red. That is a truth regardless of what the outer appearance of a person may be. Everyone has red blood. So, blood is red. So, sentences, the sun rises in the east. Have you ever seen the sun rising in the west? No. So, truths like this, which are always true, universal truth, for that we have to use the verb in simple present tense. There are some things which can be done at a definite time in future. For example, you know that your father is going to retire next month. Please write down the sentence. My father will retire next month. So this is not something which has taken place in the present. It will take place in the future. And when in the future? Next month. So what you have to do is, we all know that to indicate that an action takes place in the future, you have to use the future tense. That means here the verb is will retire next month. But to express the same meaning, you can also use the simple present tense. How will you use the simple present tense? Please write down. You can write it in this manner. My father retires. R-E-T-I-R-E-S. My father retires next month. So, you might have already guessed, or you will if you look at it carefully later, that both the sentences indicate the same thing. My father will retire next month and my father retires next month. Both have the same meaning. But the verb structures that have been used is different. In the first, the simple future tense has been used, and in the next, the simple present tense has been used. So this is just to indicate that sometimes you can use different tense structures to give the same meaning. So in the first sentence, my father will retire next month. Since the action of retiring will take place in the future, that means at a specific time in future, when? In the next month. Therefore, the verb is usually written in the or spoken in the simple future tense. But if you wish, you can also say the same thing using the simple present tense. So in the second sentence, you have said, my father retires next month. So here, of course, you can only use the simple present tense to indicate that an action will take place in future if you know the exact future time in which the action will take place. For example, you cannot write or say that my father retires, because here the meaning of the sentence is not complete. That means the completeness of the sentence will not come until you give the time of the action. So if you say my father retires next month, so there is a definite time here, next month. Only in that case you can use the simple present tense to indicate that an action will take place in future. Sometimes you can use the same tense structure or different tense structures to indicate the same meaning. Okay, so another use of the simple present tense is you can use it in quotations of great books or for quotations of great men. For example, please write down. Shakespeare says, "All that glitters is not gold." So, what has Shakespeare said? He didn't say it now. Shakespeare was alive many centuries ago. So, what did he say? In one of his plays, he wrote that all that glitters is not gold. That means everything that shines is not necessarily gold. If you look at this sentence, now Shakespeare is a great man. So therefore, whatever he says, we still like to quote what he says. So when you quote the sayings of great men or whatever has been written in great books, then when we introduce the quotation, the verb that we use is in simple present tense. So here you will find in this sentence, we say Shakespeare says. We don't say Shakespeare said. So this is another use of the simple present tense. We use the simple present tense when we want to introduce great quotations or whatever, or quote something from great books. Another example I will give you. The Bhagavad Gita says that every man is bound by the law of karma. But the Bhagavad Gita says that man is bound by the law of karma. So here, what the Gita says is man is bound by the law of karma. I hope you have written down the sentence. Now, to introduce what has been said in the Bhagavad Gita, we don't use the verb said. That is because this is a great book, and whenever we use quotations from great books, it is the rule in English language to use the simple present tense. So here today we have done, to do a quick recap, the uses of the verb structure simple present tense. Okay, so I hope whatever we have done, you are clear. So you can write down a few sentences that I am going to give you, and you can put in the correct tenses for these sentences. The grass was green. You write whether this is correct or wrong. Then Kavita says Ravan abducted Sita. Kavita says Ravan abducted Sita. Is it correct or is it wrong? I mean, these sentences I want you to find out whether these are true or false. The next one, the earth revolves round the sun. Is it correct or is it wrong? Okay. Then another sentence, let me give you. I love mangoes. I love mangoes. Is it correct or is it wrong? I go to school every day. Is it correct or is it wrong? So write down these sentences and you analyze whether these sentences are correct or wrong, and if they are correct, why they are correct, and if they are wrong, why they are wrong. And you analyze this using as the basis what has been explained to you about the uses of the simple present tense in this class. So I will end the class here. Thank you very much.
নৱম শ্ৰেণীৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকল, আজি ইংৰাজী ব্যাকৰণৰ পাঠত তোমালোকে টেন্সৰ বিষয়ে শুনিলা। তোমালোকৰ বাবে পাঠ যুগুতাই আগবঢ়ালে শুভলক্ষ্মী বৰুৱাই। আজিলৈ আমাৰ সময়ো হৈ আহিল। তোমালোকক পুনৰ প্ৰীতি আৰু শুভেচ্ছা জনাই আজিৰ অনুষ্ঠান ইমানতে সামৰিছোঁ।